Oh,
There
we go.
Hi, Army. I wore this for you.
Oh,
Sci-fi
yay.
fantasy.
Hey!
Thank you.
Cool.
Welcome, Rosa. Thank you so much. We love you so much.
Love you.
We do.
Initializing Ethereum protocol. Establishing link to Cloud Citadel. Welcome, Alita Army. You stand at the threshold of quantum consciousness.
We had a few technical issues there going on. So anyway, hoka hey, Alita Army. Welcome to the Alita live stream of May the 15th, 2026. Why Alita Can't Die. The Warrior Core Always Rises. Where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gundam, and the greatly desired sequels. I am your host, Creek Indian, from, at this point in time, Linville, North Carolina. And with me is my fellow Coloradan, Lee Lemon. He is from Fountain, Colorado. How's it going, Lee?
Oh, it's going pretty good so far.
Yeah, well, we had a little technical glitch there. For some reason, the stream stopped playing on my end. It still showed up on YouTube, but so I had to get out and get back in and, do that kind of stuff. So I don't know what happened, but anyway, we're back to normal, I guess, or if chaos is kind of a normal
as close to normal as we'll get, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So anyway, how's it going back there in Colorado there, Lee?
Oh, so far so good. Sunny, warm, nice weather.
Cool. And we have just joining us from just north of Sydney in New South Wales, Australia. We have Max Jelly.
Better late than never, as they say.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, you missed some of the chaos. We had a little technical glitch here. Of course, it wouldn't be the Elite Army if it wasn't. Yeah, surprise, surprise. So how are things down there in Australia there, Maxie?
Oh, I got to tell you that my covers were very comfortable this morning, and it was an effort to get the bed to let go of me. I mean, it's 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning, so yeah, I had to peel myself out of bed, and then the cat wanted attention. So yeah, slightly late, but not too late.
Well, of course, the cat wanted that because the cats they actually run the household.
Oh, of course they do.
Yeah.
I was talking to the cat saying it must be rough, having retired from doing nothing to doing nothing.
Retired from doing nothing.
Yep.
Oh,
well, he's 15 cat years, which is over 100. 15 human years, which is over 100 cat years. So he's retired.
Ah, I see. Yeah. All right. I guess Angelus, who I assume is at work because he'd be here if he wasn't. Looking forward to your London trip, Creaky. You betcha I am. I guess Smendrick is after me to give him my travel itinerary, and I'm going to come up with that. I'm trying to do stuff on my house here, trying to get it ready for the new owners here in North Carolina. So I'm kind of up against it right now, but probably midweek I'll lay it out and send him something on Discord, So, but yes, Angelus, I am very looking forward to my London trip. And I think I'm going to stay a little longer this time as well. Last time I went, I got in there on Thursday and then left on Monday, because I remember I got to see Rose on Saturday, and, we had a good time with her on that one, but it would have been nice to stay a little bit longer just to see the sights and that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do. So anything else to report from your respective locales, you guys?
Oh, we decided on August for our wedding.
Woo!
Oh, congratulations, man. Holy moly, that is great.
Yeah.
I will want to see pictures.
So your girlfriend will be Mrs. Lemon, huh?
Yes.
Oh, boy. Oh, that's pretty cool, man. Yeah, congrats on that.
Thank you.
Long time in coming.
Yeah.
So, Maxie, you can't top that, I bet.
Nope, I cannot. But I do have one sort of Alita adjacent thing to report. Okay. A friend of mine from school, and I mean what you guys call elementary, we call public school. Yeah. I think I met him in fourth class, and he lived about 4 blocks away from me. Was walking distance up the hill that we lived on, and I hadn't seen him in 39 years because he moved to the other side of the country and married a woman, Seventh-day Adventist Church, and I connected with him on Facebook, but he didn't use it very often. But yeah, I hadn't heard anything from him for ages. And then he contacted me the other week and said, oh, I'm doing a cycle from Sydney City to Brisbane City. And, that's 900 kilometers because he's a mad keen cyclist. He always has been. And he said, you want to catch up? And I said, yeah, sure. And then we worked out it'd been 39 years since we'd seen each other.
Well, it's a lot of catching up to do.
That was. And we did it in about 2.5 hours because he had to get going. But he rode up, and I had this weird sense of deja vu because I thought I was looking at his father. Because, you know, my memories of him was, you know, like a strapping 20-year-old was the last time I saw him.
Yeah.
And, or even less than that. No, I think it was about 18. And then he gets off his bike, you know, receding hairline and all the wrinkles, because he's always been an outdoorsy sort of person, and he was like working on oil rigs and all this sort of shit.
Yeah. And
he just looked like his father, but sort of a taller version of his father because he's tall and gangly.
Yeah.
And my brain just went, what? Took me a while. And then he came in and opened his mouth, and it's like, oh, yep, that voice. I recognize that voice. You know, from the annals of history, recognized his voice, and we caught up and everything. And I said, oh, so you still, what sort of things are you still into? He says, oh, yeah, well, I'm sort of geek adjacent and all this sort of thing, because, you know, he wasn't doing like role playing or anything, but he was still into sci-fi and stuff like that. I said, oh, have you seen the 2019 movie Alita Battle Angel? And he goes, yeah, God, I've watched that a ton of times. It's great. He said, would you like a sequel?
Wow.
And he said, oh shit, yeah, that movie really needs a sequel. And I said, well, you're part of the Alita Army, which, you know, I'm like one of the influencers of. I'm a host of live stream on early on Sunday mornings. We've been doing it for 6 years. And he's like, really? That's really cool. And, you know, and so yeah, I'm going to send him the links to the Internet Archive to read the manga, because he hasn't seen the manga, but he really liked the movie. And yeah, it's like, oh, well, there you go. Somebody that I haven't seen for 39 years is into Alita. Cool.
Oh, you could send him the link to Radio Chaos too, as well. And if he doesn't want to come on the stream, he can come on with us at the after party at least.
Yeah, yeah. So I got some more links to send him. I sent him links to my current work in progress novel if he gets around to reading it. But yeah, he's cycling. He's using all the cycle paths on the way up to Brisbane rather than riding along the freeway, which is probably a good idea. But yeah, it looks looks like he's having lots of fun. He did have a tear in his tire that he had to repair, but he's got all these packs on. He's got he used to ride, like in the 80s. He used to ride like high performance road bikes. Yep. You know, like the ones with the really skinny tire and all that sort of shit. Yep. And now he's more on a hybrid, which is, you know, chunkier and can you know, you can load it up. He's got like a 50-liter water can underneath the Y in the center of the bike, and he's got packs on both wheels and like ground mats and all sorts of things for when he has to sleep in the tent. And I just like, it's amazing the amount of shit you can carry on a bicycle.
Well, that is cool, Maxie. That is really cool. Yeah. Yeah, well, you have to invite him to Radio Chaos, and if he'll come on, we can have him on there. He can at least be in the after party, and, you know, we can chat with him and all that. You know, we need to get,
I think it'll be after he gets back to Perth, because he's traveling at the moment.
Yeah, it'd be neat to get your friend Doc Joe back on too, I think.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I was talking to him last night, so yeah, I'll see if he's at all interested. Maybe we can come up with a topic that he can speak on. He's doing some amazing work in AI creation at the moment. He's creating agentic AIs, which are basically like AI chains that do various things without human intervention. So yeah, amazing stuff. He's writing a writing assistant that critiques your work. And you know, you pick the style that you're doing, and it tells you whether you're keeping to the style. It helps you plan the backstory. It keeps track of all your characters for you. It will tell you if there's any character archetypes that are expected in that genre that you're missing. Shit like this. like it doesn't write it for you. It helps you understand your writing and improve your writing. So,
okay.
I'm waiting to test it. I'm going to be one of the beta testers, and I'm like,
Okay, cool.
Because it sounds really cool. But yeah, Doc Joe's doing some amazing stuff.
Well, we got it. You know, I think of Radio Chaos, don't we have a 26th Century Technology Revisited stream coming up?
Oh yeah, we do.
We could bring him to that one. That'll be my stream, obviously, but you know, yeah, I'll have a.
Well, if he's available, I'll check with him.
And I'll have 99 slides for that one, Maxie.
Oh, so it's going to be a 4-hour stream, right?
Yeah, no, I hope not. Yeah, I got carried away before, I think. All right. Well, anyway, welcome aboard, guys. I just want to remind everybody we got the LA fundraiser going on for the fire victims, and you know, we've raised almost $1,800 to this point, and you know, it might not seem like a lot of money, but every little bit helps. You see the link below the image on the screen there. That link is down in the description. You click on it, takes you to the website, then you click on Donate Now, and yeah, you just, you know, I don't know what the minimum donation is. I don't think it's very high. I mean, they wouldn't make it like $200 or something like that. It'd be pretty low. But I think it is pretty low. There's one of 3 ways you can actually present yourself to the GoFundMe we have, and like as an example, Maxie and I and Angelus, we just put our names in there because we don't care that much, you know. But if it bothers you, you got a couple options, like what Lee and Alita Rave did. They actually specified anonymous be listed for their donation, or you can do like Vladi did. You know, Vladi actually specified or used his internet handle. And I'm going to take this earphone out because it's buzzing in my ear. And if you're concerned about you know, your information getting out on the internet, those are the 2 options you have, you know. But if you can, we would appreciate it so we can help those folks out. They had something like over 6,800 homes destroyed or damaged by the fire, and we want to help those individuals out as much as we can there in LA. We also got the Alita sequel petition going on. I think we've added 2, maybe 3 since last week. So I know it's not a lot, you know, but it keeps plugging along every week, week in and week out. We get a few more signatures on it. There you see the link below the image on the screen there. You click on that link is down in the description. That's where you click on it. Takes you to the website. You have to enter your name and your email address, but you can specify that to be anonymous. So when they display all the recent signees of the petition and you've specified anonymous, then it won't display your name. It'll just display anonymous. And, you know, that'll help us kind of keep reminding Disney that we're out here and we want a sequel. And how many sequels do we want, Lee?
8 at least.
Yes, 8. That's exactly what we want. So, yeah, we want Disney to know that the Alita Army's out here. And I know we got a ton of folks, you know, that want this. If, you know, I guess if my channel is any indication how big the Alita Army is, which I think it's a vast underestimation, we got over 300,000 people in the Alita Army, and my guess is it's way more than that. So anyway, if you can sign that thing, if you haven't signed it yet, we would appreciate it. We still have Rose's Queen Studios bust of Alita. And basically, she knows we have it. I remember telling her this back in 2024. I told her the Alita Army wanted her to have this bust. And she was delighted that we had gotten that. But she didn't know we had it. You know, I guess we were, you know, kind of, I wouldn't say promoting it, but we were letting the folks on the streams know that we had this bust. And she had not seen it because she's not on the internet. But when I told her that we wanted her to have this bust, then she was thrilled. And then, of course, I saw her again a couple of weeks later there in LA when she was doing Cyrano de Bergerac at the Pasadena Playhouse. She told me she wanted it. So, we definitely want her to have this. And for us, this is not a gift. This is an expression of our admiration, appreciation, and affection for her as our queen of the Alita Army, which, by the way, she told Charlie Smith and I when I told her she was the queen of the Alita Army, she told us both, she said, that is a crown I would wear with pride. And we are certainly lucky that Robert Rodriguez picked her to portray Alita, because she's outstanding. Everything I've seen her in, she's been outstanding. So we still have the Alita Gaming Network going. I haven't checked it this week. I've been in North Carolina getting my house ready, but the last I did check it last week, it had 53 members, and this is free. Basically, if you want to join the Alita Gaming Network, you see the link below our Chibi Alita mascot there. That link is down in the description, and you click on that, it takes you to Discord. Now, if you don't have a Discord username, then it will prompt you to join, and it's free. If you pick the free service, which is very good, then you'll get the invite for the Alita Gaming Network, which is also free because we do not charge for you to be a member of the network. We just want everybody to have fun with this. So if you do live streaming, as an example, you can put the links to your live streams there in the live streams channel. I know Maxie puts the link for Radio Chaos in there. Chaos Nova puts the link for when he does streaming. He puts his links in the live streams channel. And from time to time, I don't do this every week, but from time to time, I'll put the Alita live stream link, in that channel, just to let people in the network know that, hey, we got a stream going. We also have some like a fan fiction channel. If you write fanfics, like for instance, Lee and Maxie, they both have basically novel length fanfics that they have in the fan fiction channel. But if you write shorts, like for instance, Channel Does Not Exist, she has several shorts in there. And Panini Freak has a short in there, and even yours truly, the Creek Indian, has a short in there. So if you want to write a story about Alita, and and don't worry about, oh, I'm not a good writer, and I got this nice little story I wrote just for me, but I don't want to put it on there. People laugh at me. No, we won't. We love reading new material about Alita, and even though the material may not be it might not be canon, we still love it because it is more stories about Alita, which we are hungry for. If you do artwork or videos, you can put that in the user creations channel. So, and particularly like if you do, let's say you do a video on YouTube, you can put the link to that video in the user creations channel. Or if you do actual artwork, you just upload the artwork and people can see kind of the new stuff that's going on being created about Alita. Now, we also have an off-topic channel, and that is for any kind of content you want to put in there that is not Alita related, and that includes some political posts. I will allow some of that. If there's any post in there about a specific politician, I am going to delete it. So we want to keep Alita as far away from politics as we can. But if it's just some general information about your country or where you live, whatever that is, you can put that in there for sure. And I'll more than likely leave that alone unless it gets too overtly political, then I'll delete it. As an example, another thing I won't tolerate in there is that here we had a while ago, we had a couple of promos for, I guess, no, it wasn't Bitcoin. I can't remember what it was, but they were selling, some of this cryptocurrency. I guess somebody was trying to promote that. When I saw it, I deleted every bit of it, because I don't want that kind of thing in the Alita Gaming Network. I all want us just to have fun with this, Anyway, I've said that already. We got 3 voice channels, and basically what those are, if you're familiar with services like Citrix or GoToMeeting or Microsoft Teams or Zoom, something like that. That's kind of what those voice channels are like. And there's 3 of them. And you can get in there if you're a member of the network, you can get in there anytime. You don't need my permission to go into a voice channel. You just hop on the voice channel. You can invite people to come talk to you. You can share your screen. You can play games in there if you want. I know Vladi and Smendrick were playing RoboCop and a couple of other games in the gaming channel. Now, that said, you're not limited to the gaming channel to play games. You can play games in the Kansas Bar channel or the lobby if you want. So, it's just something to hang out and talk to a fellow Alita Gaming Network members. And nobody on the internet except those that are network members can see what's going on in those voice channels. That is not accessible to the internet at large. Only the individuals that are members of the Alita Gaming Network can actually get into those voice channels or see them. So they're not streamed, in other words. We also have a watch party channels. And basically, I know I've done some watch parties in there. I think we've watched Alita Battle Angel, I think 3 times. We've watched Rosa's Star Trek short probably 3 or 4 times. The Trouble with Edward, we watched that. We've watched Chariot. We watched Chips. Let's see, what else did we watch? It was another. Oh, yeah, it was Rosa's short that I really loved that I think we're going to watch again here in the near future called Good Crazy. That was kind of a neat short that I liked a whole lot, that I think Rosa kind of did that on her, her own self, as they would say. And, I've done that, but you don't have to wait for me to do a watch party. Here about 6 weeks ago or a little more, Maxie and Lee were doing a watch party for Murderbot, and they invited me, and I came in a week later, so they had to tolerate watching the first 2 episodes again because Creek was late, as he is sometimes. And we watched Murderbot, and that was over 3 weekends, wasn't it, Maxie? If I remember correctly. Something like
I think we did it in 2.
I'm sorry?
I think we did it in 2.
Yeah, I think we pitched them pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, they're only short. They're less than half an hour each. So
yeah, they're TV series episodes. I guess.
I think the first episode is like 40 minutes, but yeah, after that, they're like 25 minutes long.
Yeah. So anyway, but Maxie actually did that one, and he didn't have to ask my permission to do this. I mean, he and Lee decided they wanted to do it, and then later on they invited me, and I said, yeah, I'll jump in there, no problem, and we enjoyed watching that. Now, if you want to do that, if you want to do a watch party and you're a member of the Alita Gaming Network, you can certainly do it. You just get in there and just start, whatever movie you want to watch, and you don't need my permission to do this, so anyway, if you want, join the Alita Gaming Network. We would love to have you, and we're having fun. And when you do join, you'll get a bunch of folks sending you those cute little GIFs, of these cute little characters waving hello and welcome and all that kind of stuff. It's really cute, as they would say. Okay, now, just a couple of ground rules here, because I don't want to step on Radio Chaos's toes tomorrow, because it could be kind of similar to what we're going to talk about at Radio Chaos tomorrow. But here I want to kind of concentrate, somewhat on Alita in the movie, but also the manga, is the main thing. And instead of talking about whether we will see Alita in if Nova will kill Alita in the sequels, that's going to be a subject for that panel. Here, I'm mostly concentrating on Alita in the manga, or as Maxie would say, manga. We want to. Yeah, go ahead, Maxie.
No, I'm just saying sorry for mispronouncing it, according to you guys.
Actually, I might be mispronouncing it. I don't know.
Who knows? I don't know.
We don't really care about that stuff, do we? So. Now, this said, one of the premises here of why Alita can't die, certainly any kind of creature that has organics can die, for sure. I mean, they can have biological immortality maybe, but that doesn't mean they can't die. They can be killed, And of course, they might have extreme longevity, but they'll eventually die, And I think cyborgs are no exception to the rule. Now, they will live probably. Now, we don't have any TR cyborgs, like in the manga or in the movie. But my feeling is that someone that, say, like Alita, that's 98% machine, she is probably going to live longer, provided a couple of things. If the nano machines that are in her body continue to function, and she continues to get good maintenance, kind of like us humans when we go to the doctor for our annual physical, something like that. Except with a cyborg, it'd be more extreme, obviously. But as long as the upkeep of her systems is there, then she could stand to live an extremely long lifetime, like maybe, who knows, 1,000 years, maybe. We just don't know. So anyway, one of the ways we want to approach this is with Alita in the manga, keeping in mind that this is 540 years in the future. That Alita herself is, we've argued that, yes, she is a person, she's human, but she's 98% machine. Okay, so she's more than human. Okay, it says there she's a function. In other words, what that's saying is that her existence transcends just physical organic presence, and of course, all of us in the Alita Army agree with that 100%, And then, of course, we're going to talk about why Alita always comes back. And we see in the manga, particularly, where, she, you could say she was actually killed at one point, or 2 points in the manga. One point in her tuned body, not her berserker body, but in her tuned body. And at another point in her Imaginos 2.0 body. But then she came back. The first time, I guess, Nova, rebuilt her, and then the second time she just got reassembled, almost instantaneously, but that was in the Imaginos 2.1 body. But it seems that in the manga particularly, we don't know enough about the movie yet because we've only seen her in 3 bodies in the movie. But basically in the manga, I think, Maxie, what was it? We remember we had that one contest. One of the questions was, how many bodies has Alita been in? And of course, in cyborg body, she's been in 10 different bodies and 1 human body. So technically she's been in 11 different bodies. So she has this ability, to keep going or being transported, her, if you want to call it her consciousness or a sentience or whatever you want to call it, seems to be able to transport from body to body, So we'll talk about that, particularly as it pertains to her being a warrior, and why that's kind of important, because that's the way she was built, to be extremely resilient. We're also going to talk about how Nova has a basic misconception of how to get rid of Alita, and we'll talk about that on that slide. And then, of course, we'll talk a little bit more about the berserker body. And it says as a continuity engine, but basically what that means is that being able to continue, it's got a high degree of ability to continue, basically from her cyber blood, which contains those nanites, which seem to be able to repair her almost instantaneously or within just a very few seconds. And then we're going to talk about Alita as being some kind of archetype like the unkillable warrior. Now, this is almost like superhuman or superhero level stuff, metahuman type stuff. Now, Alita is not a superhero, but she does have qualities that, would certainly, could put her in that category, in terms of her abilities. And then last but not least, what does it mean to Alita to actually die? I think for her, the meaning is a lot different than it would be for just a normal human, because she does seem to have that ability to come back, particularly at that point in time with her being an advanced cyborg and, being able, their technology, their medical technology is so advanced compared to ours that they almost seem able to continue the consciousness of an individual, particularly a cyborg, because they can embed a lot of the sentience into those systems themselves, or the software of the cyborg. So anyway, guys, did I leave anything else, or did I miss something?
Don't think so.
I can't think of anything. I admit I got a little distracted when Badman mentioned the first part of Panzerkunst Chronicle apparently had been released.
Oh wow! I got to get that book, so we'll have now 3 books to read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I suspect that it hasn't been released in English yet officially. It's likely that somebody's scanlated it and translated it as a fan translation, but we won't be seeing any physical books until the first Tankobon volume worth of material is released, and then it's collected into the Tankobon volume and translated.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens. Although it may be, if it's a digital release, there may be English translations. But,
well, Badman says a Japanese version is out. So if that's the case, it won't be long before it gets translated by official folks, Yeah,
but there's usually this lag.
Yeah.
So you won't get anything official until there's a fair bit more released.
Yeah.
And then they go through the effort of translating it and then releasing it.
Yeah, and that means now that Angelus will say, Creek, have you read Volume 10 and Volume 11 of Mars Chronicles yet? Oh, and have you read Volume 1 of Panzerkunst Chronicles? That's probably what he's
I'll have an extra thing to bag you about.
That's what he's going to do. So anyway, this is why, now this maybe sets up, this will influence or give you an idea how I'm going to answer tomorrow, but I want to stay away from whether Nova will kill Alita in the sequels or not. I just want to stick strictly to the premise, or the possibility is a better word, of Alita's almost immortality, if you want to think of it in terms of what I think. Okay. So, and other folks can have different opinions. Obviously, in the Alita army, we can all have different opinions about Alita. Okay.
I kind of disagree with the headline, but we'll get to that.
All right. Well, it's okay. It's okay. We agree to disagree, Maxie. That's not a problem. So anyways, I mentioned before, Alita is, she's more than just a person, I think, in my mind. And I know Maxie and I have had this discussion in the past. I think Alita is a metahuman in the DC universe sense, because she does do stuff that is way beyond what human beings can do, in her berserker body, certainly. And of course, this is where we're going to be concentrating here, but definitely in her Imaginos body, she is way, like orders of magnitude in ability above even the most elite human, in terms of physicality or kind of athleticism, for lack of a better term, I guess. Her consciousness being resilient. Basically, what that means is, and this is partially tied to the technology of the 26th century she's in. It seems, and this is just my opinion, you guys jump in here. It seems to me that they have the ability, they understand it in the 26th century in Kashiro's universe. They understand what consciousness is on a very basic level, and they have the ability to upload that consciousness or those instances to systems. And we saw this when Nova rebuilt Alita after the baby bomb incident and put her in the Imaginos 1.0 body.
Well, that's the thing. He didn't just rebuild her. He rebuilt her from fragments of a destroyed brain.
Yes, exactly. And
he didn't even have a intact whole brain to work with. He just used parts of it and still managed to get her rebuilt.
Yeah. So they're in terms of the medical technology they have at that time.
Yeah, I would
certainly-
say that's bordering on like the magical level of
Yes.
technology.
Yeah, kind of like Arthur C. Clarke says, any sufficiently advanced civilization will be perceived as magic, I guess.
Or maybe even not even bordering, maybe just crosses over into, you know, magical
Yeah,
levels of technology.
Well, yeah, if you if you know you were if a human nowadays approached like Neanderthal or say an archaic Homo sapien, and we had like phones and you know other kind of weapons, and all they had was a spear, you know, they would think, you know, our abilities were, you know, almost godlike, I guess, you know,
Yeah.
because our
Some
technology,
kind of semi-divine being or something.
exactly, yeah.
Capable of summoning up pictures and killing at a distance.
And of course, that third bullet there, her narrative role being recursive. In other words, she keeps coming back. She can be rebuilt. You know, she can, you know, she comes back in different bodies, as we said a while ago, 10 different cyborg bodies that she's been in, you know. And of course, that means that, now I don't know if it's her mythic purpose or not, but I would say that her underlying design that the had done for her in the berserker body itself, it may not have been their ultimate goal to make her almost immortal like this, but the way that she got put together, it might have been a happy coincidence that the way the berserker body functions, I guess, gives her this almost practical immortality. Okay, so that's kind of the way I see Alita, is more than just a person, and this is why I always say that to me she's a metahuman. You know, she's far beyond humans. And I don't mean metahuman like superhero, because she's not a superhero. She just has.
If that's the case, you could argue that every single cyborg in that universe is a metahuman.
Yeah,
Because they all have superhuman capabilities.
Yeah, they do. You know, at different levels. But you're exactly right. They do. Zapan would be a metahuman, wouldn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he has a human brain.
He's a mess of a human. I don't know about a metahuman.
Well, he is a mess.
He's a mess of a metahuman.
Yeah, that's right. He is that. So, guys, what are your thoughts on this? How do you guys see Alita? You know, Lee, what's your take on Alita? Like, you know my take. I think she's a metahuman. She's got practical immortality, etc. What's your take?
Well, I don't really use the metahuman terminology because that's sort of a superhero universe term.
Yeah,
but she is certainly superhuman. I mean,
Yeah.
it can be applied to her, I think. I mean, it's just not one I bother with. But
yeah,
her mythic purpose, I think, is actually, I think reemerging is sort of connected to her mythic purpose, which appears to be an agent of change.
yes.
I mean, wherever she goes, she causes a torrent of change in whatever systems she appears within.
Yes.
I mean, she seems to upset the status quo.
Oh, she does do that, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Much to the chagrin of Zalem and Vector and Nova. Yes.
And the what was it, the Ladder Alliance?
Yeah, the GIB or the MIB.
Well, the ones above them, even the ones
Yeah.
in Catheres
In
with
Catheres
the Zenith
Jeru,
tournaments.
Yep. Yeah, our girl's she's a force to be reckoned with, isn't she?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Maxie, what's your take?
Well, my take is more, you know, from a writer's perspective, because it's very hard for me to disassociate myself from that perspective these days. But she has plot armor.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, trying to kill off a character permanently that has plot armor is next.
Yeah.
I mean, Kishiro has said that he I don't know that he likes to torture her, but he understands that it is the central tenet of the story that she gets tortured.
Well, according to one interview, he did mention that sort of thing, traumatic change of that nature or significant conflicts are the only way to bring about any real change in a character is to make them go through something.
Yeah, I agree. But you know, it's traumatic change for her and the world as well.
Yeah,
because the world needed to change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it did.
And of course, it's like the old saying of the irresistible force and the immovable object. The factory was the immovable object, and Alita is the irresistible force. So,
Yep.
yeah, it's that dynamic.
Yeah. Well, Maxie, her resilience is the plot armor is her resilience, isn't it? Basically.
Basically.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it is oh, she can't be killed. Actually, she gets killed several times. She just doesn't stay dead.
Yeah, she keeps coming back.
Well, it's like Nova. He doesn't stay dead.
like every good horror movie villain, you can kill them, but you'll be doing it again at some other point because they won't stay dead.
And of course, she has that meta-human uwu. Angelus, he doesn't use that term. Yeah, the reason why I use meta-human is not so much from the DC universe, although I do like that term, but meta just means beyond, beyond human, so superhuman fits perfect. So
I think for me, it's also the fact that so many other characters in the universe are basically metahumans, just like she is. That's kind of like that thing when everyone is super, well, no one is.
Yeah, that's right. Well, not everybody's super. The humans aren't.
Oh, yeah, but they don't tend to really take center stage much. They tend to be sort of the outliers because you've got all these super powered cyborgs like Alita, what's that guy, Zeka, I think.
Yeah, Zeka, yeah.
And his buddy or rival.
Yeah.
Can't remember the guy's name. The big karate guy, space karate guy.
Toji.
Toji, yeah. I mean, you've got all these super powered cyborgs that are just doing all these massively world shaping things that most normal humans, they just aren't even going to really do much, unfortunately.
Well, in terms of being, when I use that term metahuman, that's not a monolithic state. I mean, some metahumans, well, take the DC universe example, some metahumans are more powerful than others. Superman is considered a metahuman, even though he's a Kryptonian, but he's considered human with superior biology, basically.
Yeah.
And people like, let's say, well, now Batman's not a metahuman, but maybe intelligence-wise he might be. But you know what I'm saying. I mean, other metahumans, like Hawkman is an example. He's pretty powerful, but he can't stand up to Superman.
Yeah. Cyborg is also one. Raven.
Yeah.
Robin, Batman. Yeah, there's a whole lot of examples.
Superman is in a league of his own, not to be reffing on the Justice League or anything like that. But he's an alien. He's not human. He's an alien.
I think I'm just going by what the fandom says. I mean, if you look up the wiki, I guess they say that Kryptonians are humans with superior biology, I think is the term I read, in one of these sites.
That's a little fluffy.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I agree with you. And to one point, Maxie, that any alien, it would be highly unlikely that aliens would be just like us humans. Even if they were intelligent, their biology would be different.
My science sense is tingling when they say that Kryptonians and humans from the planet Earth can mate and reproduce. It's like, that's not quite. That would be like the chances of that being functionally correct, unless there was some sort of link in the distant past. And of course, I don't think that the comic writers actually understand biology particularly well. So I'd be going, nah.
Oh, I agree. Because when these comics were all written way back in the 40s and 50s, they thought all intelligent life would look like humans.
Well, one of the basic rules of just about any of these DC or Marvel comic books has always been the rule of cool. It's like, does it make for an interesting story? Is it neat? Is it cool? Yeah. Well, then we'll put it in there.
Yeah. So anyway, we all agree that whether you want to call her a human, a metahuman, a superhuman, or enhanced human, we all agree that she has abilities way beyond humans.
Yes.
Because no human can manifest plasma. like she can for sure, you know,
Yeah.
and she
And
has.
if you go with the movie version, then that's every Berserker is capable of manifesting plasma like that. So you've got a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
Well, there was a fair bunch of them at one point, but I don't think there's a lot anymore.
There's not anymore.
No,
yeah.
but you still got a significant number of cyborgs of varying kinds. Cyborg soldiers, cyborg workers.
True.
Maybe even cyborg explorers out there if there are still some colonies that are working. In the manga, certainly, they've got all kinds of cyborgs of all different sorts.
Well, categorically, Alita is an alien. I mean, she's from Mars. Now,
Yeah, she's extraterrestrial.
That's right, but she's still
born on
because because her lineage goes back to humans on Earth. Obviously,
Yeah.
It's not like
She's
alien.
an extraterrestrial human.
Yes, there you go. Well, I like to say she's an extraterrestrial meta-human, but that's just me.
to drag some actual biology into this, the definition of a species is a group that can reproduce viable offspring together. Yeah. So if you look at things like ligers, which is mating a lion and a tiger, you can do it, but they're non-viable. They can't produce their own offspring. So that's why a tiger and a lion are different species, because they can't interbreed and produce viable offspring that can create more offspring.
That's kind of like beetles, isn't it, Maxie?
Exactly, same deal. But that's how you define a species. It's a group that can reproduce viably. The genomic distance, and that's basically how much the genome of a creature has changed over time when they've been separated from that group. If there's been enough time go by and their genome has changed enough that they no longer are able to reproduce, then they'd be considered different species. But nowhere near enough time has passed in the story and in the canon of humanity moving to Mars and then coming back to fight each other like a pack of dickheads that they are. Not enough time has passed that they couldn't reproduce. Now, having said that, cyborgs basically give up their reproductive ability. So you could almost call them a different species in as much as they can't produce viable offspring with the rest of humanity. But it's not the function of time and biological drift. It's a function of just changing the function of humanity. So I think you could call all cyborgs that have given up their ability to reproduce a different species because they can no longer reproduce with the rest of humanity.
Well, I think, too, that's because they've given up that ability to technology. You know, like in Alita's case, she's got a berserker body and cannot reproduce because she doesn't have the human organs necessary, female organs, to be able to do that. However, built in her genetic code is the instructions for how to reproduce, you know, and all of that is still there in her. Now, physically, she can't do it, but the genomic instructions are still there. You know,
it probably could be done with significant medical intervention.
That's a very good point. And in fact, at the end of Last Order, she reverts back to being fully human for the first time in that story. But then she is capable of reproducing because her body has been recreated as a proper human. So she's gone from becoming functionally a different species because she can't reproduce with humanity back to being a human again. So she's gone through the whole cycle and come back again.
Yeah, it's kind of a gray area, isn't it?
Oh, so gray. So much gray.
Yeah. Now, some would say that her Imaginos, now we're not going to talk about the Imaginos body here, but some would say in her Imaginos body, she could reproduce, you know, because she could imagine, you know, she could, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, dream up, you know, the female infrastructure necessarily to produce a baby.
That would still require allowing the Imaginos cells to act like biological reproductive cells too. Yeah, and that's assuming they can actually do that. They may not be able.
They may not be able to do. That's a good point, Lee. They may not be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, taking the form of something like that doesn't necessarily impart the abilities of something like that.
Yeah. That's an unknown.
I mean, it could be that they are, but Nova really didn't go into that kind of detail on whether.
Well, the story certainly didn't give us any.
They were too busy being punchy.
Yeah,
anything like that.
Well, Koshiro has stated that he gets a little red in the ears, embarrassed if he has Alita kissing anybody, so he never really goes in that direction.
Wow,
there you go, Angelus. You're not going to be drawn kissing Alita anytime soon. Officially, anyway.
Well, I guess it must have not killed his soul, but it must have made his ears very red. Because in the manga, Alita does kiss Hugo, doesn't she?
Yeah, she also kisses Figure 4. He doesn't, but he has a certain, I guess, self-consciousness about it, it seems, at least from what I gathered through the interview. So that's why she doesn't really go in the direction of romance too often. That
tells me that Koshiro really likes Figure 4 and Hugo. At least he let his main character, form a relationship like that with him,
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? Well, anyway, and we all do agree that Alita is more than just a person. She's at the very least an agent for change, and is a thorn in the side of Zalem and Nova and the rest of them. So,
does she actually kiss Chaos?
Chaos kissed her, and she.
Okay, so it wasn't a two-way thing. It was.
Yeah, it wasn't mutual.
Mm-hmm.
She slugged him.
Yeah, Chaos was getting frisky, and he kissed her, and she slugged him. Which
she kissed him back with her fist.
Yes. Yeah, and he went flying, didn't he?
He kissed her. She served up a knuckle sandwich.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Anything else, you guys?
Well. Looking at Alita, that first one there of Alita's identity is portable. There's even a more portable identity within the storyline, and that is Nova.
No, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. In fact, he replicates to the point where there's a bunch of him running around.
Yeah, that's right.
Dozens, I think.
Yes, dozens.
In fact, I think he made up the population of Zalem at one point.
Yeah, he did. He's much more portable than Alita is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But nobody's going to look at him and go ooh, except maybe Eli. But Eli was completely bonkers, so that's fine. She's
yeah.
But I mean, if you kind of look at it as that sort of character on either side, you've got Alita on one side and Nova on the other, kind of deal.
Yeah. Anyway, why does Alita always come back? Well, one reason she always comes back is because we want her to come back. So, for sure. It looks like my picture there chopped off part of the text. Sorry about that. Anyway, I think, those first three bullets there, to me, speaks to her persistence and determination. I mean, it's almost like she's like the unstoppable force, she had to have Nova rebuild her, but, she survived that with Nova's help in that particular case. But even when she fought Toji and she got blown to bits, she reassembled, So, it seems to me that she just has that ability almost. And in the case when she fought Toji, I guess the people on Jupiter, I guess, or or they had orbiting platforms there, kind of instantaneously rebuilt her, and she came back immediately, but her consciousness was still there, so it's like you can do damn near anything you want to her in terms of damaging her, and she still persists. She's still who she is. She's still there, and she's still a warrior. So even when Ito found her in the scrapyard, and she had forgotten, she had amnesia, forgot who she was, and all that stuff. she still had buried deep inside her psyche the ability to fight using Panzerkunst. You know, we saw that when she took out those 3 cyborgs or androids, whatever they were in the alley. She pretty much kicked their asses easily, you know, even though she didn't remember who she was. That was still part of her. So, you know, in other words, when she dies in the manga, she gets a new body. Her identity stays there, you know. And depending on the body she gets, it says a new level of agency. I think that's more or less she is more attuned to the body she's in, you know. So, for instance, when she was in the doll body, yeah, she was pretty tough, you know. I mean, she kicks the Pan's butt in the
she was
doll
very
body.
sort of girly.
But the Berserker body, you know, now she said it feels more me, you know. In other words, there's more power, you know. So it seems to me that when she gets put in a new body, her mind adapts to that body to the extent that it can use it fully. So, you know, and that last bullet says she doesn't die, you know, or at least in the manga, she doesn't die. Now, she might get severely injured in some ways. She might get blown to bits, but she always comes back, you know, even if it is by the help of other individuals like Nova in that particular case, or the people in Jupiter. But her consciousness is still there, you know, and adapts immediately back to the body that she's in. So anyway, that's my thoughts of why Alita always comes back, because her mind is really, how would you say, optimized to function within a cybernetic body. Anyway, and it's that ability to adapt is because she has just about always been in a cybernetic body. So it's second nature to her. Anyway, your thoughts?
Well, I think mainly, well, as far as her saying it felt more like me when she got back into her berserker body, I think that actually might be more along the have more to do with that was the body she had been more familiarized with before her amnesia. Yeah. So it's like, just like with her Panzerkunst, her mind was familiar with it. Comfortable with it. That was,
I would actually say not so much her mind, but her core was familiar with it, because Ito says that your core is designed to interface with this body.
So Maxie, you're saying then that some of the actions she takes is subconscious, and all it does is
definitely.
So when it's like calling the subroutine, right? You want to fight something.
Well, what the way they describe the core working is it translates what you think, like move left arm, swing sword, what have you, into instructions for the cyber body. So it's like a translation layer, and the more that you use it, the better it gets at fine control over what you want the body to do that it's interfacing with. So you start out a bit iffy to start with. So you look at the wake up scene in the movie, and she gets out of bed and then falls flat on her face.
Yes.
Because her core is still working out how to talk to the doll body. Yeah. And as time goes on, it gets better at it. So it's like a learning machine.
Which is foreign technology too.
Oh, exactly. It's AI.
Basically. But it's more a translation AI. Yeah. Translating what the brain in the box, as it were, is thinking. It wants the body to do, and then translating that to the body's required information so that it can undertake those movements. And it's a learning system, so it gets better as it goes on. So if she'd had to fight those cyborgs right after being embodied into the doll body, she would have failed entirely because her core hadn't integrated properly yet. But when you take that core and plug it back into something that it had interfaced with for a significant amount of time, it's going to feel more natural because it just knows what it's doing.
Yeah, the core was already set up for that, I guess.
Yeah, the core was already trained and and had a much higher fidelity of accurate translation to a berserker body than it would have had to the doll body or any other body she was putting.
Yeah. Although I would say that she sure kicked the shit out of those cyborgs in the alley pretty soon after she was in that doll body. I mean,
well, we don't have a time frame. The movie does jump around a bit, just leaving bits out, and I understand why they had to do it because they had to cut it down. You can't show all the minutia of a life when you've only got 2 hours to tell a big story.
Could have been weeks, right, Maxie?
Yeah, there could have been weeks in there.
Yeah.
We know that it probably jumped days.
Yeah, in the novelization, there were in fact days between some of the more significant scenes. So
definitely, like when she was training to do the murder ball event.
And that one they mentioned there was actually weeks. Yeah. So there was a lot of time that passed that didn't get shown.
Yeah, exactly. And there was no indication of how long it was. It was just fast forward to the next event, fast forward to the next important interaction, fast forward to and they just didn't have time to show it. So, and that is also, I mean, the sort of Western understanding of story has a lot more implication on time frames and timings and things like that, whereas Japanese storytelling is and then we just fast forward to the next most important thing. We don't really worry about what happened in between. You see it a lot in manga and anime where they just jump and there's no explanation of it, and I think that Rodriguez felt comfortable doing that because that is the Japanese storytelling style, and he was kind of sticking to it a bit. So
yeah, Maxie too. I think that Alita's brain is very, how would you say, optimized to her core, because I guess, even though we don't know how long it took, the core, even though it was in a strange body, we don't know how much time it took, but at least it was able to interpret enough, or it had learned enough based on what her brain was telling her it wanted to do to those 3 cyborgs, that it was still able to do it pretty effectively, I think. So,
well, you see, the Panzerkunst subprocessor, I'll call it, was sitting there dormant.
Yeah.
So it's subprocessors that are called when needed. So the combat core is a bit different from the movement core. They're all sort of subcores within her cyber core, and these things are sitting there waiting to do something, and she didn't even realize they were there because she'd lost her memories. She didn't have a conscious cognition of Panzerkunst, but it was all sitting there in her core waiting to be activated. And then when fight or flight activated in the back alley there, and she just started fighting. Like the call came on and went, okay, well, you want to stop these people from killing Ito? Let's go. This is how you do it. And she started beating the shit out of them. And that would be terribly confusing to somebody who has amnesia to suddenly go, well, hang on, I know Panzerkunst. Shit.
Well, I do think
you see it on her face. She's like, finishes the fight, and she's just like, how the fuck did I do that?
Yeah, her eyes were like, what did I just do? But I think another thing too, Maxie, is like, it's like her brain had called. It was if you're familiar with computer programming, you could call routines to execute, different service requests, let's say, or maybe you can write a subroutine that does, a task, and your main program is not set up for that, but you can call that subroutine. You would code that into the program. It'd call the subroutine. It would do whatever it have to do. Seems to me that the core, at least, being connected to Alita's brain, recognize that fight or flight, kind of situation she was in is almost like a subroutine call. And now Panzerkunst, the knowledge of, whatever that routine for Panzerkunst was, executed, so she could, kick their butts easily, I think, that kind of the way I see it too, even though her brain doesn't remember the techniques, the fact that the core, probably had that subroutine or set of subroutines in it, that once it recognized, the fight or flight, that was the call. That was a subroutine call.
Well, human bodies do that too, not Panzerkunst, but
yeah.
When was the last time you thought about walking? You just get up and do it.
Yeah.
And you don't consciously think about walking. A lot of times, if you consciously start thinking about walking, it stuffs up your stride, because you've interrupted the automatic walking routine that your body has. And there's things about the human body that we still don't have a really solid understanding of. And walking is one of those things. It's almost like your autonomic nervous system organizes walking, and you're thinking about something completely different, and you say, oh, I need to go to the refrigerator and get a drink, and you just push your chair back with your butt, and you get up and you go walking around, and you're not even thinking about doing it. You just do it.
It's automatic. Yeah.
and it is a part of your human brain that you can do things subconsciously or almost subconsciously and not even think about doing it.
Yeah.
Everybody who drives has experienced, your mind's thinking about work or what you got to do when you get home or what have you, and you autopilot home, and you've been thinking about things, and then you look up and you're parked in your driveway, and you're like, how the fuck did that happen?
Yeah. Well, I do think Alita, though, in her case where she fought those cyborgs, she didn't think about how to fight them like that. Like you're saying, it was like walking. But what I do think that there was something in her brain that maybe that awakened the Panzerkunst module, if you want to think of it as that.
Yeah.
And then it took over and fought, for her. And it was like, then she recognized at that point, oh yeah, I can do this. That's kind of the way I see it, the way what happened. So anyway, in that
so her lack of awareness of her ability to do this didn't take away from the fact that she could. Yeah. It's just that she has to become aware of what she can do before she can consciously choose to do it. But subconsciously, when fight, flight, or fright takes over, then it automatically activates, at least at a certain level. I mean, there's basic abilities like swing punch, swing kick, what have you, and then there's advanced abilities like Herzahayon and Shigaten Forjin and all of those, which she actually has to remember how to do before she can actually do them, because they're a bit too advanced just to let it autopilot. So what she's trying to remember, certainly through the motorball arc, she's trying to get flashes of memory so she can remember the techniques, the advanced techniques, so she can do them.
It's a bad man's point too. Yeah, he says, well, you at least should think where you're going. Well, I think in this case, bad man, she thought, I want to protect. I mean, maybe it was somewhat subconscious or, kind of just below the surface or whatever, but her intent was to protect Ito. And then, that was her intent. So she did have an intention. But what I'm saying is the actual reaction of what she did, the actual, what's the word am I looking for? The tasks that she performed was actually governed by her Panzerkunst module. That's what I think it was,
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, so I'd say that the core is subdivided into combat module, movement module, and whatever other things were obvious, tactical module, what have you, and then it passes what the brain wants to do and breaks those down into subroutines and then initiates them, and there has to be a certain level of cognition to activate the subroutines, and if you don't know that, you're not going to activate them. So basically, there's stuff hidden in her core that, certainly at the end of the first movie, she's yet to unlock, as it were.
Yeah, the subroutines execute, and they actually make the actuators. Yeah.
I think just before we go on, I think Badman is right that when you're going to the refrigerator, you have to decide that that's where you're going, but then your subconscious takes over and it knows where the refrigerator is and it walks you out there. You don't even have to think about it. You just move because it's a pathway in your mind that, you know, from, like, I'm sitting here at my desk, I have to go and open the door, walk out, go to the refrigerator, open the door of the refrigerator. And I've done it so many times that it's a pathway in my subconscious that I don't even really have to think about it. I just go and do it. I can be thinking about my writing or what we're going to do tomorrow on Radio Chaos and just let my lower functional levels, my subconscious levels, go and do it for me. And that is part of the natural system of a human mind, that it works on multiple levels. You don't think about breathing. You don't think about how your throat is going to shape itself to form words. It knows what it's doing and it does it. And I think that the same functions work in a cybercore, that you have your high level thinking in the brain and then it passes on what it wants to do to the core, and then the core makes it happen.
And you certainly don't need to get on to Google Maps to figure out how to get to a refrigerator.
No.
It's once you've done it a few times, it's automatic.
But of course, it works. It can work against you as well. There's been multiple times where I've been driving my wife to the station. Now I do this trip 2 times a day on weekdays, so it's really heavily ingrained into my subconscious, so I can drive it while I'm having a conversation with my wife about whatever the hell she's upset about this week. But and that's not a joke. But I also traveled 3/4 of that path to take my son to school. So there's 2 competing subconscious paths there, and sometimes I'll turn the wrong way at the particular roundabout where these 2 paths converge, and my wife goes, "Why are you going this way?" Going, "Oh shit, I'm autopiloting to Leon's school, so I've got to actually then turn off and go a different way that I don't normally take to take you to the station because I whoopsied and followed the wrong path subconsciously." So I mean, it works in your favor when there's no ambiguity, but then it works against you sometimes too. So it's sort of interesting how your mind works on different levels.
So you call those things roundabouts like the Brits do, right? Not like us Americans. We call them traffic circles.
I call them roundabouts.
I call them roundabouts.
I also spent enough time in England that's the name that stuck with me too.
I call them roundabouts too, but you know, a lot of Americans call them traffic circles, and you'll see signs that says traffic circle. I say, oh no, that's a roundabout. So anyway.
Well, there's a lot of times where I have to pass Australianisms or Englishisms into Americanisms so that you guys understand what I'm talking about. Because you don't think about language. It's another thing like language. You don't think about it. You just use it. And it's another sub-process within your brain. There's parts of your brain that do language, just language.
Yeah, you don't think about forming the word that or it.
Yeah.
You don't think about forming it. You just say it. Yeah. And
it's all about practice. And a lot of people struggle with things until they've practiced them enough that it becomes ingrained. There's actually a psychological progression, which is really interesting. I think I've brought it up once or twice before. It's conscious incompetence. I don't know what I don't know. Unconscious incompetence is the first step. I don't know what I don't know. Conscious incompetence. I know what I don't know. And the best example of these things is driving, because a lot of people do that, so that a lot of people can understand it. But unconscious incompetence, I look at a car and I go, how the fuck do you drive one of those things? That's, before you've even started lessons. Conscious incompetence, I know what I don't know. I've had it described to me how you drive a car, but I still don't understand how my hands and feet and things are going to move to make that happen. Conscious competence, I can drive a car, but I got to think about it. And then the top level of that is unconscious competence. And that's what we're talking about here, where you can drive the car without thinking about it. You can breathe without thinking about it. You can talk without thinking about the words and what you're going to use. You're just sort of thinking high level about the topic you're talking about. You can walk without thinking about it. All of these things we have learned as we have grown and developed. When you're a baby, you have none of that knowledge. You have none of those capabilities, and you learn them all and ingrain them into your conscious mind, and then it subsumes into your unconscious mind, and then you just fucking do it. And it's amazing how the way the human body works. And looking at Alita and the cybercore, I'm sure that they've mirrored that process in passing what the human brain is thinking into what the cyber body does. And, you know, whenever they've re-embodied, you're going back to probably conscious competence. You decide you're going to move an arm, and then you go look at the arm, and then you see it moving, and you go, oh, well, that kind of worked. And then your cybercore is trying to translate what you're thinking into your movements. And then after a while, you start getting the hang of it, and then you can stop thinking about it. And then you're back to your unconscious competence. And that's what Alita would have to do every single time she's put in a new body, is get a feel for the new body. And that's in inverted commas with my little fingies here, because that's the process of going from conscious competence to unconscious competence. And you don't go all the way back to unconscious incompetence because you've moved in a body before. It's just you've got to get used to the new one.
Yeah, I think Angelus would probably agree with me on this, that in martial arts, one of your goals is to try to be able to, you know, perform movements, you know, for self-defense or whatever in such a way where you don't think about it. You just do it. You know, you just, it becomes like a natural part of your being almost, you know, where
it's been referred to as muscle memory, but it's not actually muscle memory. It's subconscious routines.
Exactly. And that's kind of what you shoot for in martial arts, you know, a lot of times, is that ability to do that. Because if you got to think about how you're going to hit somebody, it's too late. You've already missed stuff.
Well, martial arts work exactly the same as driving. You start out with unconscious incompetence. I don't know how to do these things. Then you get shown how to do them, and you've got conscious incompetence, which is I know I've been shown how to do it, but I still don't know how to do it with my body yet. And then you go through conscious competence. I can do it, but I've got to think about it, to when you actually master martial arts and you can do it without thinking. You just go, I'm going to kick that guy in the head, and you do it.
Yeah, I remember that. I had a similar experience when I went to Germany back in 1995. I knew how to speak German. I mean, my German was pretty good, you know, but I had to kind of think about the American or the English phrase, and then translate it in my mind and then say it, you know. But when I went to Germany, I was there for almost a month. Before the end of the second week, I didn't have to think about the American or the English phrase. I could just speak the German, you know.
Yeah, language is a really interesting one, because there's a period where you go from thinking in your native language and then translating to thinking in the new language.
Yeah.
And that means that your language center has taken it on at a deeper level.
Yeah. Well, I could speak pretty good German before I went, you know, but not fluently. You know, but I was speaking it fluently but before the end of the second week. So, you know, and it was pretty amazing. You know, I amazed myself. And sometimes when I got back to America, you know, it was almost like I didn't have to relearn English, but people would say stuff to me in English, and sounded strange for the first couple of days, you know, that kind of thing, you know. So anyway, Guten Morgen, he says. Yes, Angelus. All right, well, we hit this one pretty good, I think. Now this is kind of what I thought. You know, now certainly I had AI help me to put together the presentation to a degree, you know, but basically my thought is that Nova is concentrating when he's not all the time, because Nova and Alita's relationship is kind of all over the map. Sometimes he actually helps her, you know, and other times he's trying to kill her, you know, stuff like that. But I think he when he is trying to kill her, let's say, he thinks by destroying the body, he has destroyed her, you know, he's destroyed the threat. Whereas with Alita, really what it is that, okay, you've destroyed the body, but, you know, my essence is still here. So all you've done is increase the threat, you know, my threat against you, because when I come back, you know, I'm going to remember, you know, at least a lot of this, you know, I will still be me, and I'll still be, you know, perhaps your enemy, let's say, or a threat to you. So in other words, what we're saying here is that Nova tends to think of her in a physical sense in terms of, you know, trying to destroy her or kill her or something like that. But really, Alita is kind of her essence, you know, and certainly we saw this when her consciousness was uploaded into the brain chip. She's more like the software part of this. So it's like you can take, you know, an operating system on one computer and take that same operating system, put it on another computer. It's kind of similar to that. So where Nova's trying to attack the specific body, you know, Alita herself, you know, she is the continuity. In other words, what continuity means is the ability to continue, you know, and she still has that ability. So that's kind of what I think Nova's big miscalculation is when he's trying to kill her. Now, he doesn't try to kill her all the time. He helps her sometimes, you know, so it's really a pretty diverse relationship, I think. But when he is trying to do her harm, I think he's not thinking in terms of her mind or her or just her, you know, persistence or her consciousness or whatever. He's thinking of, you know, maybe destroying the body or something like this. So anyway, those were my thoughts. So what do you think, Lee? Is that if the way you think, is that kind of a little bit off base for what you think, or you got?
Well,
something?
I think it depends on which Nova you're talking about.
Exactly.
Because the Nova in the manga, he has a very, I think a very different goal in mind than the Nova in the movie. The Nova in the movie seems more like a combination of like Nova and Aga embodied from the manga.
Okay.
He's more of like an overarching sort of control over the whole system that she finds herself in.
Like
while the Nova in the manga is basically, he's just another random element going around trying to understand this force of karma or whatever, trying to decipher or unravel it so that he can have some control over it, I think. And to that end, the one in the manga will attempt to harm or hurt her depending on what stage of his experiments he's in, or what he thinks will further his understanding of this karmic force. The one in the movie just wants her destroyed because she is a threat to his power.
Plus, he wants her heart, I think, is what he at one point.
Yeah, I think he wants the lost technology in her core.
Yeah.
Specifically her heart in that case, but he might take, you know, whatever else he can get.
Ah, okay. Maxie, what's your take?
Lee kind of just killed it there.
Okay.
I'm fully in agreement with what Lee said. They are two different Novas. One's trying to maintain his power. The other one's trying to dissect, and I use that word deliberately, the understanding of karmic
forces.
Yeah. Trying to remember what he calls them. Karmatron dynamics.
Karmatron dynamics.
Yeah, yeah. Which is his term for how the karma of different individuals interacts and how it affects the world. So Professor Nova, I call him Chairman Nova from the movie and Professor Nova from the manga.
Yeah. And
Chairman Nova has been in control for so long, he wants to keep that control, and he sees Alita as a impediment to him maintaining control. whereas Professor Nova sees Alita Chairman Nova is is the power at the top of the pyramid, where Professor Nova is an external observer who tinkers with the world and sees what effects it has, because he's a true scientist. He's a scientist with no morals.
Yes.
So he just does whatever the frig he wants.
Yeah.
And so they are quite different characters. Yeah. One is like at the top of the pyramid and wants to stay there, and is acting in that capacity. And he may still do karmic theory experiments on people, but he's got this other goal. Whereas Professor Nova was never interested in controlling things at that sort of a level. He wants to be able to control the world through poking at the karmic forces and directing them.
I think he wants to try to free humanity from the tyranny of karma, is how he might have put it once, I think, in one of the part of the manga.
Yeah.
Try to break the cycle that humanity is constantly undergoing of rising up and then falling into ruin.
By any means necessary, right or wrong.
Yes, which leads to him believing that there are only two kinds of people in the world, those who experiment and those who are experimented upon.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I was talking more about Chairman Nova. Yeah, because you're right.
That was the distinction I wanted to make, that you're sort of channeling Chairman Nova more than Professor Nova.
Than Professor Nova.
Chairman Nova, like Maxie was saying, is at the top of the pyramid, and Professor Nova is sort of around the base studying the pyramid.
And then, of course, there's Supernova, and there's that Nova that likes flan, and then there's all kinds of different Novas. Yeah, there's all kind of Novas running around there. So and
it is really interesting that you can be functionally immortal by having nanites that a nanite cloud that stores your experiences and then rebuilds your body and inserts them back into it automatically. But every time you do it, you get a slightly different take on the character, which is sort of like, identical twins never end up being identical in the way they think about the world and their experiences. Everything's a little bit different. And I love the way Kishiro sort of says, well, every time you try to recreate exactly the same thing, you're going to get something that looks about the same, but is functionally somewhat different.
There's going to be some alterations in that system.
Nothing recreated is exactly the same as it previously was.
Yeah, AKA I used to speak fluent German back in the day. That was back in the mid-90s. Absolutely. Anyway, that's that. And, of course, Angelus, who's now Angeli because, I guess Lottie and Smendrick and I are going to see our queen again. So he'll be Angeli again.
He was already Angeli for you hanging out with
Robert Rod.
Because he really loves Rob Rod as well. I mean, no gay, but, it's his favorite.
He's a big fan of Rob
Rod.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so he's a big fan. And you got to hang with Rob Rod. And he was like,
I'm sorry about that, Angelus. Anyway, you were there in spirit, Angelus. But anyway, Angelus says when we say that, that Chairman Nova or Movie Nova wants her heart, but he can't have it because her heart belongs to the Alita Army. That's right. Yeah. And so does her uwu. Is that right, Angelus? All right. Well, I think we hit that one pretty good. Anyway, I guess the Berserker body has the ability to persevere, continue, whatever you want. I think that's a function of what they built into her core. Now, whether the in the movie, whether the had consciously built that into the Berserker body, or if it was just a happy coincidence, nevertheless, it's like self-preservation on steroids, if you want to think of it as that, And of course, that body having the capabilities that it has and the resilience it has can adapt to trauma quite easily. I mean, we saw Well, in the movie, we saw how Gruishka punctured her with those grind cutters, and she healed within 10 seconds, self-healing that was subconscious. She didn't have to think about healing. It just happened, because the nanites took over, and that's the way her body was designed. And and being that as it was, her body can, reconstruct itself. Particularly in the manga, she can regrow limbs. And I don't know if that's a berserker body ability or not. That might just be an Imaginos body kind of capability, maybe. But it can certainly heal her from pretty severe damage, because the nanites can repair her. And so in other words, they can just, without her even think about, like humans, we can all self-heal, we all do. It just takes a long time, for us to do it. You cut your finger, you might have a cut, and it might bother you for like a week or something like that. With Alita, she cuts her finger, let's say, or like she did in the movie, got punctured in the side. Within 10 seconds, it was back to normal, So, I mean, that's just something that humans don't have, of course. And then, of course, the physical power of the body itself. If she intends to do something, particularly fighting as an example, that body gives her extraordinary power. So it can amplify her intent, particularly with fighting, or if there was some kind of strength related, kind of task that she had to do, And last but not least, now we can debate this one because this is a little gray area, I think, but the berserker body would interpret death as we need to reboot. Now it depends on how much damage the berserker body has, but certainly if it's not total, catastrophic damage that would knock her offline, it could be very severe, then the berserker body could definitely rebuild her. And even to the point, I think, where maybe some current doctors today might say she's clinically dead, they may be able, the nanites may be able to rebuild her and kind of wake her up, kind of thing. So anyway, what's your thoughts on that, Lee?
Well, probably a little less of the sort of sense of self-preservation being in the body. In the movie, even, for crying out loud, I can't remember her name. Her trainer, Gelda.
Oh, Gelda, yeah.
She even tells Alita that you have the mind of a survivor. No matter what happens, you'll keep going, basically.
Soul.
Oh,
the soul of a survivor. Yeah. Sorry. So basically, I get the impression that Alita, as far as the warriors that Gelda has trained, is unique in her ability to simply persevere.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them have the will to continue, the will to keep fighting, the will to keep going. Hers appears to be on another level above the rest of them.
Which may be why she was second in command of the squad, huh?
Possibly, or it could be that it made her a more effective warrior than the others. Maybe she, I mean, we don't get a lot of backstory as far as, the movie-verse version of Alita. Her time in the military, because in the manga she had a very, I would imagine, a fairly different background than what the movie-verse version would probably have.
Yeah, there was no in the manga. It was
exactly.
Yeah.
As far as preserving the warrior, I look at the berserker body more as just an extension of whoever is using it. So it's more more a piece of equipment, I guess.
Like a
very advanced piece of equipment that's designed to interface with a living consciousness. So there's going to be some, some extras, if you will, on that. Yeah. But it's going to basically be like a samurai sword. It's an extension of the warrior's will.
So in other words, for you, it's more like a weapons platform then.
Basically, yeah. I mean, it's a highly advanced weapons platform, but it's got a very unique wielder.
Yeah. Okay. Maxie? Maxie, are you there?
Sorry.
You were muted.
So, yeah, that happens.
Yes.
Not sure I jive with the title of this slide. It's kind of like saying that your car is an extension of yourself. It's a vehicle. The Berserker body is a vehicle. Now, of course, when you look at the Berserker body and its combat abilities, it's probably more like a tank than a car. But the fact that the core is the central part of her being, and it can be transplanted into other bodies. It's kind of like there's the human bit, the brain. Then there's the core, which is the important cybernetic part. Sort of like it's like how your subconscious is important to your conscious mind. The core is important to a cyborg's ability to continue after the body is damaged to the point where it's no longer functional. But I don't see that the Berserker body is a continuity engine in as much as it can be replaced with any other. Oh yeah,
it can be replaced. I think the inference here, though, Maxie, is that of course you'd have to have the cyber blood in it, but the fact that the nanites can repair the body and the body continues, I think, is what the level is.
I suppose it certainly is more robust than a normal human body, and you know, in the combat of the 22nd century, I think was when the fall was.
Yeah.
No, 23rd century. So it's 26 is 300 years. Yeah. So in the 23rd century, certainly combat has evolved to a point where you're no longer parking yourself in a tank if you want to have a strong presence on a battlefield. You can do that in a cyborg body and be as tough and resilient as a tank. So certainly the way war is waged has changed significantly. And you sort of look at these sort of gross, but not in the yuck term, but in the larger use of it as in a larger term, these gross changes in the way wars are fought, which is cyborg warriors rather than human warriors in vehicles that protect them. Their bodies are far more robust and do the protecting. Then looking at how the most important part is no longer the human inside a tank, but the core and the brain on the top of a cyborg body. So it's the same paradigm, but it's compressed. It's a more personal sort of situation.
Yeah, I think Badman's got a good point here in the manga. It seems he says that the Berserker body wasn't kind of, so I guess you could say optimized to the owner to the point where it would bother to try to save an original owner. It was just
it didn't have a will of its own.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't trying to save its original owner. It just whoever was wearing it could use the functions, which kind of what Lee was talking about, it being an advanced weapons platform. In the movie, it seems a little different because it seemed to be specifically tuned to Alita's core, or at least all of the Berserkers that had a core like Alita's could wear that body and they would get that benefit out of it as opposed to anybody just wearing it, so. Anyways.
Well, I don't know that a standard 26th century cyber core, like say, for example, Jashigan or Zapan could connect to the Berserker body. Now, having said that, we don't know yet because we're still waiting on the damn sequel. But in the Zerkapan arc, the Berserker body, when activated in Berserker mode, sought out a brain to help it with its Berserk mode. because it didn't have the thinking capacity to function on its own. It still needed a brain, even if it was subsuming the brain for its own purposes, the purpose of going berserk and causing mayhem within enemy territory, which is what it was designed to do in berserk mode. It still wasn't functional as a berserk unit without a brain. It still needed one.
Yeah.
It still needed the processing power. But it didn't need a cyber core to connect to that brain. It basically overtook that component and just needed something to do some thinking for it on a higher level, because it didn't have that function within itself. So depending on how they go in the sequels, if we get the Zerkapan arc roughly in the same vein as it was in the manga, we'll see that the Berserker body will have that function.
Seemed like the Berserker body in the manga kind of reflected the psyche of the individuals wearing it. In the case of Zapan, it was a lot different than it was with Alita. So, yeah.
Well, it would be interesting to. I mean, this is. I sound a little bit Professor Nova-ish when I say this, but it would be interesting to have data on what would happen if Alita had been in the body when it went berserk. Would she have been able to control it? Certainly, without the cyber core, I don't think the human mind would have full control over a berserker body. But if you had your cyber core there, would you be able to shut it back down? Could you put it back into normal mode, or is this just a final gambit kind of activity where when all other options are exhausted and you don't have a functional Martian core running the berserker body? Is this what it goes as a final opportunity to damage the enemy, or is this something that if there was a Martian core there, it could actually control it?
Well, Zapan certainly didn't have that core, did he? I mean,
he didn't have a core, and he wasn't fully reformed yet. I mean, we certainly know that Nova could reform from bitsies of Alita's brain, her full psyche. That was demonstrated. But when he did that, he had the full power of Melchizedek and I was going to say Tafarian, but Zalamite technology to hand to do it. Now, when he was dicking around with the berserker body and what was left of Zapan's brain, he didn't have all that good stuff. So he probably wasn't able to regenerate Zapan's brain to the same level that he could with Alita later on.
Yeah, plus Zapan might not care to go back to controlling it. Maybe he wanted to inflict damage. So he was probably,
well, we know that he'd gone insane because he was carrying around Sarah's head.
Because he
talking to it.
Yeah, he was definitely
he broke.
He had snapped. There was a definite snapping noise at one point.
Well, he was in a deep state of depression, I think. So anyway, that's
amongst other things.
Exactly. So
when you put an insane, not quite intact brain in charge of a
berserker body,
a berserker body, it's not a good match.
No good's going to come of it.
That's right. Bad things happen.
Especially one that seemed to be focused on extracting revenge.
Yeah.
Yes, he had the revenge thing going on.
Yeah.
It was getting problematic.
All right. Well, let's move on, I guess. Now, Alita as a archetype being the unkillable warrior. Now, this is, from a practical standpoint, once again, I said at the beginning, anything that's living can be killed, but in this case, Alita seems to come back a lot, kind of like that Phoenix, she she gets severely damaged or she gets killed and she comes back, you know. So in other words, it doesn't seem to be in the manga any level of, how would you call, inoperative state, if you want to call it that instead of death, that she can't come back from. You know, I mean, she's going to, you know, in the case of where Nova rebuilt her, she came back. In the case where the Jupiter scientists or whatever, the folks on there, you know, reassembled her during the Zot, you know, immediately, she still came back, you know, and she can be transported from one body to another. So she is in one body that gets severely damaged. I mean, to the point where it's inoperative. She can transfer her core and her mind and her brain into another body, and she's good to go. Now, she may have to learn the body for sure, but she's still able to function, you know, and I think that's what the whole thing is of this particular slide. So you guys got any thought about that?
There was a big chunk of Deus Ex Machina in that scene, you've got to admit.
Yes.
It's not a case of she was able to survive what happened to her on her own recognizance. It was more a case that people were looking out for her. And the Jupiter Union bigwigs snatched her consciousness away from her being obliterated, and then made a deal with her and sent her back. So, you know, like it's kind of like Nova's nanite cloud, except the nanites were a supercomputer and a society of metahumans with unlimited energy potential of a singularity. So, you know, they were groups that had a lot of power and a lot of technology and were able to help her out, but they asked for things in return.
Yeah, she needed help. Yeah, that's for sure.
She needed help. It wasn't a case of, well, she could just buff it out.
Well, if you remember the movie, you know, the Justice League movie, where, you know, the Justice League, I guess, where they reanimated, I guess you could say, Superman. He needed help because he would have stayed dead if they had done what they did, you know.
Exactly.
So I think it's a kind of a similar thing to that, I think. So,
but I mean, as you move up the ability ladder, you know, like from a cyborg core with amnesia that was found in a scrapyard to a cyborg warrior that worked for 10 years in the Badlands for the MIB, to a mad karmic scientist's favorite data point, to a overpowered warrior who was fighting for the people of Earth to become their own political entity. She worked her way up the importance ladder, you might say.
She did.
And the more important and capable a character is, the more likely they are to be helped by others who have recognized her as such. And that's basically what happened with Alita.
I think so.
Within the bounds of the story. I mean, outside of the bounds of the story, the author gives her plot armor, because without Alita, there is no Alita Battle Angel story. So he's not going to kill off his
central character.
Yeah. I was going to say something along the lines of Golden Goose. He's not going to kill her off and go, that's the end of the series, she did, because that's going to piss everybody off.
Looks like Badman and Angelus know a little bit about MS-DOS, don't they?
Yeah.
I don't think Alita is running MS-DOS in her operating system.
Well, those who have lived through MS-DOS know that unless you also overwrite the data, you can destroy the format table, but the data is still there until you overwrite it. So if you really want to get rid of it, you overwrite it multiple times.
Well, that's what we used to do when I worked for the Defense Department. We'd do these exercises, you know, at our recovery site, and they would lay down this data, into this processing environment, and then when they got through with the exercise, they didn't just delete the data out of the catalog. They actually deleted it for sure. Then they compressed it. Then they ran this utility 7 times to write over, because a lot of that data was classified, so you couldn't get out, but that's kind of what you're talking about, I think, Maxie.
Exactly. Yeah. I had this guy come to me. I was at my college of residence back when I was going to uni. I was one of the tech guys, which would help people with their computer problems. Yeah. And I had this guy come to me, said, my thesis is due tomorrow. It's on this floppy disk and I can't access it. And I said, we'll use one of your backups. He says, what's a backup?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh fuck. So I got on my Mac, and it was all Mac formatted. I put it in, and I ran these rather rare tools that I had. They were Norton tools that people in the know could get hold of, but most didn't access. And it basically did a sector by sector read, and it took me a couple of hours, but I managed to get his thesis back. But it had lost all the images and all its formatting. And I said, well, there's your text in raw format. You're going to be spending all night reformatting and putting the images back in.
Did you back it up for him, Maxie?
I told him, go and back it up. It's your job to back it up. It's not my job. I recovered it for you. You go and make several copies, and you keep updating them all night.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me way back in the early 80s, a friend of mine and I, we had like a small business around Pensacola, Florida, and we would help these small companies, with their computer stuff. And one of them was a guy I became friends with. He had like a mom and pop electronics store, that type of thing. And he had this computer that these guys had built for him. And he was running the old operating system called MPM. I don't know if you remember that, but anyway, I was telling him, I said, you need to be backing up your data, because he had removable disks and stuff like that. And he said, oh, I don't want to do that. It just takes too much time, and all that. So you're going to regret it one of these days, So anyway, time goes on. We're sitting in the office, and I was telling him some of the things I was going to do that day. And all of a sudden we heard something that sounded like this. Like that.
That's the bad sound.
And I closed my eyes. I said, Bob, please tell me you backed up your data. And he said, no, I don't want to back up my data. It takes too much time. He said, what was that noise? And I said, that was called a head crash. He said, what's that? And I said, that's where the heads of the disk dive into the surface of the disk drive.
Yep. It actually creates a divot in the disk, which is not supposed to happen. That is not how that's not how the data is either put onto a disk or read. It's all magnetic, so it's never supposed to touch the disk. Well, and if it does touch the disk, you are screwed.
We spent the better part of 6 weeks reconstructing his data. And after that, Maxie, he religiously backed up his data every Saturday.
It takes but one catastrophic event to teach you.
Yeah, that's right. So, well, my thought on this slide is certainly anything is killable, but if Alita was going to fight a normal soldier, to that soldier, she would seem unkillable.
And she has many times, especially in the Badlands arc. We watch her fighting those
the Barjack,
the Barjack soldiers. They just can't touch her.
Yeah, she just, I guess, the old kind of, betrayed Alita in Figure 4. But yeah, she's pretty much having her way with them. Yeah, I mean, they couldn't touch her, But anyway, to them she would seem unkillable, So now, certainly to some others like maybe Nova, let's say, or Toji, or some of them, they could possibly kill her, but it seems like she always comes back, though, even with help, but she still comes back. So,
well, if you look at the functioning of immortality as it works in Nova's case and in Alita's case,
Yeah.
Nova has a system set up so unless you nuke him and the entire area is like burnt with plasma fire, he's going to be coming back.
Yeah.
That is the only way to finally stop him. And of course, if there's multiple copies of Nova running around disparately spread out, like say, because Supernova went to Mars, so that's a whole nother planet away.
Yeah.
It's impossible to stop if he's got dispersed versions of himself out there. He's impossible to kill.
Even he, though, needs help. Like, for instance, he's got that nanite cloud around him that rebuilds him. If you, like you say, Max, if you nuke the whole area and you kill all the entities that are like him, the clones or whatever, and then you completely destroy the nanite cloud with that nuclear weapon, he ain't coming back.
No.
Yeah.
But who has a nuke in that story?
They don't. They don't.
Probably Ladder would be the only ones.
Well, the Ladder would, maybe the Venusians and
there'd be a few powerful entities, but there aren't many of them.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And often those entities understand the value of what he's doing and would rather capture him than kill him.
Yeah.
Now, looking at Alita's situation, she does not have that intrinsic backup.
Yeah.
She has people that recognize her value and work to reconstruct her because they see a use for her and want to use her. And in the end, she becomes the last order. She becomes a agent of Zeus and Arthur.
Which is why Karula didn't want to kill her. So
yeah, exactly. So it's not a case of, well, I have a system in place so you can't kill me. It's a case of people who are ridiculously powerful or entities that are ridiculously powerful see your value and make sure that you don't end up.
Well, let me ask you this.
Or stay dead.
If we say that Nova has this built up, but let's say you did nuke him and you destroyed the nanite cloud, him and all his copies, who on Venus or Jupiter would want to reconstruct Nova?
It's a good question.
None of them.
Well, it's a case of comparing your danger level to your usefulness.
Yeah, that's right.
And while Alita can be dangerous in a local sort of sense, she's not dangerous in a wide area sense.
Yeah.
Nova, on the other hand, is just downright dangerous
and evil,
and he knows it.
Yeah.
And therefore he does his own backups.
Yeah.
Because he knows that he's not going to get a lot of help.
Yeah.
He's not as controllable as Alita. He's not. They can't put him under their thumb, so they'd probably just be happy if he ceased to exist.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know if he got nuked. I don't think anybody would rebuild him. He would be
probably.
All right. So what does death mean to Alita? Of course, now she can die, really, when you look at it practically. But, if you destroy her body, and given she gets help, like we were just talking, she can return. Her memory, she can lose her memory, like we saw when Ito found her. And in terms of rebuilding, she can rebuild. But in the case of the movie, at least she had to rely on near-death or very dangerous conditions for her to get just a snippet of her memories, and of course then she can use that to kind of help continue to form her personality or remember who she is or whatever, and she can start becoming, I guess, what she was before she lost her memory in that case. So anyway, the question is, for me, does Nova kill Alita? Now I'm not talking about tomorrow. Now we're going to get in that. That's a little different. But in my thought, can Nova kill Alita? Yes, he can. However, if she gets that help that we've been talking about, she's going to continue. She's going to come back, and it's going to be the same thing, because it's like we were talking on the previous slide. there are plenty of individuals, agencies, organizations, whatever, that see her as useful, and they're going to want her back, you know. But with Nova, no, they won't. So somebody will help her probably, and then she's going to come back and she's going to still be Alita. You know, that's the way I see it. So anyway, any thoughts there, Lee? What's your thought about this?
I don't know. It seems to me like the bullet points just kind of sums it up. If her body is destroyed, she returns, she gets a new one, or, you know, what have you. If her memories are erased, some part of her keeps her core sort of protected. If her identity is fractured, again, it just comes back. I mean, she just persists.
Yes. So, Maxie?
It's hard to tease out the difference between the main character of a story versus how the world would really work if the story wasn't focused on them. I don't think you can tease that apart. If she's not there, there's no story. So she's going to be there. So and being an author, and Lee as well, and to a lesser extent, Creaky, we all know that when we're writing about Alita, we're not going to kill her off. We're going to challenge her. She's going to have close calls. We're not going to kill her off. It's not going to happen. So, you know, it's you can look at any other character in that universe and go, they're disposable because they're
they're expendable.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. They're disposable. She's not. So you can't really look at Alita and treat her like any of the other characters and say this, that, and the other, because she is the story.
So death does have no meaning for her because she is the main character, and she's
the story becomes more how does she overcome the obstacles that get presented.
Exactly, because she is the focus of the story. We're following her unless Kishiro's gone off on one of his little tangents, like with Karua. But it pretty much will always be coming back to Alita because she is the center of the story. She is patient zero. So,
that's kind of like Lee's character in his story. Jason, how does he overcome the obstacles? But in his story, he's got two characters that are not going to get killed. Or at least he could kill off Jason, but I guess.
Oh, Jesus. I'm going to punch you next time I see you. Who? Angelus. He's getting a punch.
What he said.
Battle Angel Rakan. Jesus.
Yeah, I don't want Rakan. He can stay where he is in the last story.
Angelus has worked out how to trigger me, son of a bitch.
Yeah, he is. Is he what we would call a bad C word there, Maxie?
Yes.
Oh, gosh. All right. So anyway, well, I agree. You know, I mean, certainly she's the main character. She's not going to die. But if you think of her as just a character, the Berserker body does kind of help protect her from death, I think.
Yeah. So I think that's true of any of the bodies she has. I mean, she wants more power so she can take on greater challenges and, you know, protect the things that are important to her more easily and more capably.
Yeah, particularly that. I imagine it was 2.1 body. I mean, holy shit, she's. I mean, she's like Thanos and Darkseid level character in that.
Yeah, it
body.
Got so bad that Kishiro had to take all of that away from her.
Yeah.
Because it was just way too much from what I could see.
Yeah.
It got a bit Dragon Ball-y. And if you look at the comparisons between Last Order, at least the parts which were involved in the Zot and things like Dragon Ball and other sort of combat-y stories, shonen stories, you see that they follow the same trajectory, and you get power scaling to keep the story going, and you know it's like climbing up the ladder of power, and you get a character that is now so strong that there's only a few people in the entire breadth of the universe that they live in, which could possibly challenge them. And then the story just goes flat. I've had this complaint a lot in long-standing role-playing games where the characters keep gaining levels and they get more powerful and more powerful. And certainly stories like Solo Leveling, where the main character, Jinwoo, he ends up becoming so powerful that he's fighting gods. And in the end, he's so powerful that he manipulates time and space. Well, not personally. He requests to go back so that he can fight the bad guys earlier with his now godlike power and stop them from killing all his friends, all the people that he knew. But in doing so, he has to forego them knowing of his existence. So he has to give up his part in their stories to save them all.
Maxie, AK. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
And it gets to the point of the story where it's so meta that he's like a god himself. He's like so out of frame of the everyday, even the everyday with
that's certainly the way
individuals, that there's no connection between him and them anymore.
Well, that's the same thing with Alita in the Imaginos 2.1 body. She's
exactly.
not connected to reality.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If you power scale far enough, you become irrelevant to everyday life because you're a god.
Yeah, you just can't really relate or connect to the average individual or the everyday lives of the people around you, even if they're
the average everyday individual has things that piss them off. And they can't do anything about it because they need their job. They need to not be locked in jail or have in Alita's world, have a bounty put on them, which is a death sentence. So, and then you look at Alita in the Imaginos 2.1 body powered by Saturnian
wormhole
singularity and the computing power of Melchizedek. And you go, could anybody stop a noob?
Yeah, we've had that stream on her fighting Thanos and others.
Well, I'm kind of sticking to her universe rather than expanding beyond it. But what I'm saying
think
is
that might be lead into what the complaint was that Kashiro had in one of the interviews, that she sort of started turning into the kind of person that he wasn't really happy with.
Yes.
He started thinking she was turning into a bit of a bitch. I think that might have something to do with the amount of power she gained. She became basically rather mean-spirited.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Well, when she stopped having to be nice, she stopped being nice.
I still think she had her humanity, though. I don't think
she did. But I mean, if you take anybody and poke them with a stick enough times, they're going to get pissed off.
Yeah.
And the world just continually poked her from the time she got her memory back to the time she was fighting superpowered beings for the fate of the people on planet Earth, which is 1 to 20 billion. In sort of power level, she's been poked the entire time. Everybody above her was poking her because they could see that she was on her way to kick their asses. Aga and Barty tried to put it down.
Good luck with
all teams that had to fight her were trying to put her down. Everybody who met her realized that at her power level, she was a danger, and their immediate response was put her down, as in kill her.
By the way, Maxie,
dangerous.
AKA's got a great idea for another topic. AKA, you might want to come on Radio Chaos with this. How does Alita herself feel about death?
Yeah, I spotted that when he typed it. Yeah, it's not a bad option. We should.
Yeah, that would be AKA. You ought to come on Radio Chaos and let's talk about it. That could be your topic if you want.
But what I'm saying is that how Alita's universe related to Alita changed significantly as her power level spiked.
Yeah.
And a lot of that had to do with Nova, just his dickery pokery. in his experiments. And when she became patient zero for him, and he was using her as his thesis on karmic theory, basically he caused the rest of the powers in her universe to point their biggest weapons at her because she had become such a powerful opponent that she was a danger to everyone. And about the only person didn't see her as a danger was the interdimensional guru that Lee's been added to his story. What's that guy's name again?
Well, I remember it's Donfwa is the one name that's used.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember the other one. I cannot for the life of me remember it. Tunpo.
But he was about the only one that didn't see her as a threat because he didn't give a shit. He didn't have power within Alita's universe to lose. So he didn't feel that way. But everybody else who was power in that universe was worried about her because she had come out of nowhere and become so powerful. So either they were wanting to kill her or wanting to use her.
Yeah. Well, Maxie, I was comparing her to these other characters for context for other people that are not familiar with Alita, because they,
for sure.
Just about everybody knows who Thanos is. Just about everybody knows who Darkseid is and Steppenwolf. They know them. And and I've even had this discussion with a couple of people that they'd say they had just a very, limited knowledge of Alita, saying, "Oh, you think that little girl is going to beat Thanos?" And I say, "Yeah, in her Imagineers 2.1 body, it's not going to even be a fight." And
it's fun to give a little bit of comparison there to, show the differences between them.
And another thing about it too, it kind of goes back to what Maxie was saying too. That old saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
If there is no if there's no force in your environment that is going to check you and make you think about what you're doing, you can do whatever you want. And once a person realizes that, even if they try to, self-regulate, there will be times where they just get frustrated and fuck it, you die.
Yeah.
There was a video essay on that called "What Kind of Person Are You When No One Can Stop You?"
Yes. And Superman's in that position as well, he is. And Thanos is in that position as well, and we know what he did.
Well, he's in that position as long as he has all the stones.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's not in that position without all of them. So anyway,
he attempted to be, but he decided that the gauntlet with the stones was the best way to do it. He was optimized, but he certainly was out there killing entire populations of planets, or half the population of every planet, before he started building the gauntlet.
Yeah, Batman did stop Superman only because he had kryptonite. Yeah. Anyway, I guess we kind of hit this one pretty good, and we're kind of gone past 2 hours here. Not that that's unusual for me.
but yeah, there was a real issue at the end of Last Order that Kishiro only realized when he got there was that he'd power scaled Alita out of contention to pretty much everyone else in her environment.
Yeah.
She'd overcome all the troubles. Yeah. She got all the backing she could possibly get, and now she was super powerful. And, so she was sort of being checked by Melchizedek and Zeus in that if you don't do what we want, we'll take the power away.
Yeah.
But that, if she went along with what they wanted, no one could stop her. Well, that's how it was supposed to be until she rocked up to Venus and they checked her there.
Yeah. Well, let me ask.
We still don't know what they did to do that.
Exactly. He just left that as vague as possible.
Well, let me ask the two authors this question. How easy is it for, like, you're writing a story and you got a character like Alita, let's say, that's, you start out, she's pretty powerful, and maybe more than humans, or she's, extraordinary character in other ways. And you start writing the story, and all of a sudden, as you're writing and you keep going, the story starts taking on a life of its own.
Yes.
And that happens a lot.
We've been talking about sub-processes and things happening in your subconscious. When you're writing about characters that you know intimately, they do take on a life of their own in your head. And rather than you consciously trying to map out everything that they do, as you're writing, your subconscious throws up what it thinks they will do. Yeah. And it feels like the character is telling you what they'll do. And it's not impossible, but it's very difficult to go against the character of the character, if you get what I mean. Yeah. Like you write something, you go, nah, that character wouldn't do that. That's way off base. That's out of character.
You write it that way.
Yeah, their personality and motivations become more solidified.
And then if they go right off character, then you've got to justify it in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Lee, I think Jason should get the Imaginos 2.1 body.
Oh,
well, it's gonna have to go and sit in the dirt from the translation circle for a month.
Well,
but
it's gonna have to be in chapter 52.
So you could power scout Jason all the way up there.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I don't.
He won't. Lee won't do that. Lee is way too embedded in the real to ever consider Dragon Balling his character.
Oh, if I was writing a story about Alita, she'd be more powerful than Darkseid.
Oh, that's actually one of the big fears I've got is turning Jason into a what's the male version? Gary Stu.
Gary Stu.
Yeah. I really don't want to do that to him.
Yeah, well, I was just being.
Oh, I know. It's entertaining to think about, but I don't think Jason would react well to having that body.
Yeah. I don't think Jason would want it because he'd know the temptation.
Yeah, there would be that fear there. If he ended up with it, I'm not sure what the hell he did.
Yeah,
would he feel that he was stable enough to warrant having something so dangerous?
Yeah.
Jason doesn't really feel stable enough in his own abilities to really.
Much less a Imaginos 2.1 body, Lee.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be. I don't think he'd have a lot of confidence in his own abilities to restrain himself using a berserker body, much less an Imaginos body.
Yeah.
See, the way I look at characters that have strong morality, be it self-proclaimed or introduced as sort of a religious layer, they will consistently be fighting between their base urges and their higher level morality.
Yeah.
And when you give them power which is beyond the ken of mortal men, then you have this huge dilemma between, sudden realization I can do whatever the fuck I want versus, well, I don't think that's right because my religion says this or my inner morals say this. And then it's going to be this huge war within their mind about, well, but I can do whatever I want, but should I?
Yeah. Well, the thing with Jason is also he's had a good view of what a lot of really terrible people have done with power.
Yeah.
And he doesn't believe that there is that much good in himself. He tries to be, he wants to be, but he's got enough
self-awareness.
I think he's enough of a realist to know he has as much of a shadow as anybody else does.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. It's no challenge and no no. I've got to get the right word here. It's no proof of your believing in your religious tenets if you have no dark side. Every human has a dark side and a light side, and the light side doesn't win if there's no dark side. The light side is just the only thing that's there.
Yeah.
So even the most devout follower has to have a dark side pulling at them to show that they have chosen the light side rather than it's the only option. If you get my drift.
I think so. Carl Jung called it the shadow self.
Yeah.
Ah.
And that's something I've actually kind of went with. I mean, Jason, being a Christian, still has a sort of awareness that there is a very strong duality in people, including himself. I mean, he's even given into his own baser instincts on occasion, you know, wanting to commit violence when angry or hurt.
And it's not just that; it's accidental overpowering. Like if Jason was in the Imaginos 2.1 body, and you know he went to protect somebody who was being attacked by a rogue cyborg, and he like pushed the rogue cyborg away, and the rogue cyborg smashed through 3 buildings and exploded. He would like tear himself apart internally, not literally, but he would be anguishing over it for ages.
Yeah, especially if by doing that he basically turned that rogue cyborg into a missile that hurt and killed other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let me respond to here, Angelus. You know, there's only one Uwu Cat Lita. Yeah, Cat Lita is my favorite version there, Angelus, because I really like that tail.
That might be why he mentioned that.
Yeah, that's right. All right, guys, let me push on here. So, this is what the Creek thinks why Alita can't die. Now, as Maxie said a while ago, all of this is nice talking points, but the real reason Alita can't die is because she is the main character. So there's a lot of plot armor there.
Yep.
So anyway, but I think we kind of hit it pretty well. You know, we know that Alita we've had this debate before. She is a human. She's a human being. I think even in her Imaginos body with a brain chip, I think she's still human, you know, because she's retained her humanity, you know, and all that. We know she's a warrior. That goes without saying. And we know that Nova, at least Chairman Nova, wants to kill her or wants to get her heart and stuff like that. And in my opinion, he's going about it the wrong way, you know, I think, you know, but anyway, that's another story. We know the Berserker body is really resilient. We know that, you know, you can do a lot of damage to it. It can still continue because it has self-healing factor for sure. And she is, I think she's levels above, you know, what a warrior, unkillable warrior, not unkillable maybe is a bad choice of term there I got, but in my opinion, and as we've said before, I think she's a meta-human in that sense. Now, whether you want to call her a superhuman or an enhanced human, or that's okay. You know, we all agree that she has extraordinary abilities, which makes her a supreme warrior, you know. So what does death mean even for her? You know, I mean, I don't think she really thinks about it that much. You know, I think there's a couple of panels in the manga where she was kind of wishing for death because she thought she'd get to see Ito again and see Hugo, you know, and stuff like that. So I don't think she thinks of it in terms of a stopping point. You know, I think she thinks of it as more of some form of continuation. Anyway, but all that said, why Alita can't die? Because if she dies, so does the story. So there you have it. Any final thoughts, guys, or did we miss anything?
I can't think of anything myself. So
you kind of put the cap on the pen. Wrote the last line and put the cap on the pen. I think you covered it nicely.
Is that an Aussie thing, or is that just a general?
Oh, it's sort of a, you know, when you're writing on the whiteboard and you write the last thing and you put the cap on the pen and you're done.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, all right. Well, as you can see from that center panel right there, Alita does love her Uncle Creek, and that's because he wants a sequel like she does and what everybody in the Alita army wants. But if you have a problem with Alita loving her Uncle Creek, you can take it up with her and face that plasma weapon yourself. Next week, we're going to do a replay here because I thought about doing a stream because, I mean, I would have internet access, but I'm going to be trying to get my house, you know, finalized and all that. So I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to do this. So what we're gonna do, we had a really successful stream a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago? Yeah, I think it was a couple of years ago. Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. Look at that. About, how the Erm could have won the Battle of Zalem. Because, they did, in the movie, they did take down the other orbiting platforms or the other sky cities, but they did not take down Zalem. So they didn't win that battle. So in this stream, we talked about how they could have won it if they'd have gone about things a little bit different. And I think, Lee, you were on this
I think so, yeah. I
panel, and Maxie, I think you might have been on this panel too, if I'm not mistaken. And Angelus.
Oh, yeah. I had some issues with some of the logic.
Yeah. Oh,
well,
it's okay. We can have differences of opinion in the Alita Army as long as we all get that sequel. All those differences.
I do believe that now there's a YouTuber. I'm trying to remember his name. He used to come on and visit us fairly regularly, but I haven't seen him in a couple of years. He did a lot of Alita stuff. Crap, what's his name?
Wasn't Star of Elion, was it?
No. It's another guy, an American.
Den?
Nope.
No, it wasn't Den.
I've gone blank.
Wasn't Sensui, was it?
No, it wasn't Sensui. Because that's Jerome. He's still on Discord.
Oh, okay.
No, this guy is currently doing a lot of stuff with another Twilight. What's the name of the anime? Well, actually, he covers a lot of mangas which have been turned into anime. Spy X Family. He covers a lot of that and other games and things. But he, in the first couple of years after the movie came out, he did a lot of exposés about thoughts about different things to do with the story.
I think I know who you're talking about. I can't recall his name either.
Yeah.
But I got engaged with him in the comments on his YouTube videos, and he actually did follow up exposés based on some of my comments, because I'm always like poking holes in things. It's one of the things that I do. But yeah, the Battle of Zalem was one of those things. It's like, well, why would you attack Zalem? Just shoot the friggin' elevator. If you break the elevator,
exactly. Yeah,
Zalem's going to fall, and it's going to be all over Red Rover. So,
well. Yeah, I think the whole premise behind this stream was, we all recognize that you could hit the space elevator and it's game over. But given the fact that the went about it the way they did, what could they have done different? Other than
they had kinetic weapons are the go-to weapons when you're fighting in space battles and things like that, because all you have to do is accelerate something, and as long as it hits its target, job done. Because if you accelerate something fast enough, it's going to make a huge mess because it has a ridiculous amount of kinetic energy. I mean, even looking at some ideas that they've had for space-based weapons for the US called the Rods of God, they're just massive titanium spikes that you just drop from orbit, and they accelerate fast enough that they create equivalent of a nuclear explosion when they hit the ground.
Yeah.
And it's just a rod of titanium. JR, nice day. Thank you, Batman. You are the dude. Yes, it was JR, nice day. That's the guy. But I had a lot of discussions with JR about these things, and of course they had
knowledgeable too.
Oh yeah, totally. He's up there with the professor with his ABA knowledge. But if you just accelerated one of their space battleships, the Martian space battleships, into the space elevator, what are they going to do? How are they going to stop it?
They're not. They're not going to stop it. Well, anyway, given the way that the went about it, what would have been a couple of other ways other than attacking the elevator that they could have done to win the battle? And that's kind of what we talked about there. If I can, I'll be in the chat. It depends on how far along I get, with getting the house finally ready and stuff like that. So, but Maxie, and Lee might be in the chat, and they could, lend their 2 bits in there as well, So anyway. but that'll be a replay next week. It won't be live. So in other words, there'll be a chat. You'll be able to chat with each other, but I won't be able to display some of the chats and stuff like that. So Maxie, you want to talk about this one?
Oh, hang on. I got the team.
Oh, you've already got it, Maxie?
I've already sent it. I've already sent it through.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll make sure you get it.
Oh, come on. Let me shrink it. I don't know why it always comes up so huge. There we go. Okay. Do that and do that. Press all the buttons. More buttons. Select the right shit. So there we go. Now, I slightly modified the title. I'm gonna have to fix it in the instance. But
Alita Fallen Angel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I just called it Alita Battle Angel 2 because we don't know what they're going to call it. It was a suggestion from Jim Cameron that the second one might be Fallen Angel and the third one might be Ascending Angel.
But they might decide to call it something else, yeah.
They might. Yeah.
So I just said Alita Battle Angel 2. Basically, this is the flip side of the coin from what we've been talking to today, which I think was Creaky's intention, where today we were talking about how she's unkillable, and then we're going to talk about, well, will Nova kill her? Because obviously Nova in the movie is a lot more belligerent than Nova in the manga. So going forward, how is that going to change the story, and how and what are the chances of Alita dying? And I put that in inverted commas because we have discussed today that Alita dies multiple times, but she doesn't stay dead. She's reconstructed, she's rebuilt from the molecular level or what have you within the story, because people with the ability to do that have decided that she's worth putting the effort into. And yes, Kishiro does have a thing for messing up his protagonist quite significantly.
Yeah, he does.
But yeah, so this is sort of the flip side of the coin. And of course, we have already said today that she is the main character. If she goes, the story stops. So I'm not suggesting that she's killed. That's the end. We walk away disappointed that the story has finished because Alita is dead. What I'm suggesting is that she may be killed, in inverted commas.
But we'll have all kind of options, won't we, Max?
She won't stay dead.
Yeah.
So that's what we'll be discussing tomorrow. I hope you'll join us. And it should be an interesting discussion. Like today was a really interesting discussion. So we can sort of, rather than talking about the manga and the story.
There's a manga?
Apparently there is. We will be talking about where the movie might be going with this. So it's the other side of the coin.
Yeah. All right. Well, join us. We'll have fun on that one. That's going to be, because I've already got some ideas.
Does anybody recognize what that artwork? And that's an artwork of DeviantArt. It's not a Kishiro
I recognize the image immediately. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically just before the Yellow Door chapter.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And here's our queen. Of course, our queen, Rosa, she is #1 in the Creeks book in terms of being an actor. She's great. I've seen her in two stage plays. I'm going to see her in another one next month. Or not next month, in July. I'm going to see her in one. And I've seen certainly Alita Battle Angel. I'm guessing, Maxie, by now it's 100 times. It could be, she's really great, and she really loves her fan. And Maxie, I'm going to get off this because I'll start waxing lyrical. And I also want to give shout outs to El Lamont and Jesse Fisher because they brought Screwhead to life. And what Creek wants is he wants Alita and Screwhead to team up and take on Josh Agon, in Alita 2. So You know, it's kind of like what we were watching that today. Anyway, downstairs we were watching the interview we had with Elle Lamont, and you know, Elle Lamont said that Jessie was the most amazing and badass stunt woman she's ever worked with, and that's really something. So we all three of these ladies deserve to be in this sequel, and Disney, we need a sequel. So just give us one. You'll get all our money. Our money will flow from our pocketbooks and our wallets right into your coffers. You know, because we want 8 sequels, we want merch, we want another anime, we want a live action series, we want games. If you know, we will buy all that stuff. You know, I mean, without hesitation. You know, so come on, Disney, give us a sequel. We will repay you for this. You will make money, because the first time when Alita came out, there was no Alita Army. Now there is, and we have a lot of people in the Alita Army that want the sequel. So give it to us. And what I do want to say too is, if you want, you can join us for the after party. I'm going to put a link in the chat so you can kind of join us. But what will happen here is that you come on, you know, this part of it is not streamed. It's the same instance of the stream, but the stream will be over with, you know, by the time, you know, when we get through the credits and stuff like that, or the outro rather. And, you know, you click on it, you'll go in backstage. And once the outro is finished, then, you know, we'll bring you in. You can talk to us on the panel here. You know, we're real friendly, you know, and if you're worried about your English, don't, because our English is all bad. Hey, you got 2 Americans and 1 Aussie. How bad can we speak English? Well, you've been here over 2 hours. So anyway, but yeah, if you'd like, come and join us in the after party, and you know, we'll have a lot of fun. We do neat things, like sometimes we'll play videos, we'll show photos. Certainly Lee and Maxie are going to talk about author stuff, which they always do. And so you get some insights there too, and you can ask us questions. And if you know, it's a good way to get started. If you're considering trying to get started in getting on live streams and stuff like this is a good first step for you, because this is not streamed and you can get a feel for it. You know, the process is similar, but it's not streamed. So, you know, you kind of wiggle around in it and see how it feels to you, you know. So we are the Alita Army. We are the most friendly fandom on the internet, and we support Alita and Rosa Salazar passionately and positively. And we are here to stay. The reason we're here is to keep Alita current, and we want that sequel. So give it to us. Give us those sequels, Disney. We want it. There's Angelus. Yeah. What's English? Yeah, Angelus. That's what it is. Why is this image here? Well, that image is there because I like it. And to paraphrase Gruishka, I'm only here for our girl and our queen and the Alita Army. And that only leaves us with one thing left to do, and that would be to call to action on my count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Film
those sequels, baby.
So we will catch you tomorrow on Radio Chaos, and we will catch you on the recording. We'll have 2 recordings next week, won't we, Maxie?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we'll catch you on the recordings Friday and Saturday and Sunday if you live in the future. And we will catch you later.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
What's up, Alita Army? This is Hot Toys Alita, and I hope you enjoyed this week's Alita Livestream. Please join my Uncle Creek, Angelus, and our other guests for next week's show. Remember, I do not stand by in the presence of evil, and film those sequels, baby. See you next time.
No cause is lost, if there was but one fool left to fight for it.
Yeah, Gary, that'd be nice.